Hello and welcome. I'm Patrick Curtis, your host and chief monkey, and this is the Wall Street Oasis podcast. Join me as I talk to some of the community's most successful and inspirational members to gain valuable insight into different career paths and life in general. Let's get to it. Another interesting chat with the WSO interns. If you're interested in applying to the internship, please check out the show notes. There's a link right there. Enjoy. Okay, everybody, welcome to the July 15th, 2022 Intern Weekly Call. For those of you that's the first call, typically what we do is we have a few minutes to answer questions about the internship, specifically for the finance research analyst internship. So if you have questions about the research, the writing, the process, anything, feel free to go ahead and do that. You can raise your hand or drop your to ask over audio, or you can ask it over text as well. And Nabil can help remind me when I'm forgetting to check the chat box. I'll open that up now, actually. So I think, and then this week we'll also be doing a resume review from one of our interns. We've anonymized it, and we'll be going over that resume kind of once those questions are answered. And then if we have time, we'll open it up to kind of also some questions around anything around your specific career, interview, or networking, or other efforts you've been making as you kind of try to land a career in finance. So we'll start off right now again, as usual. Welcome, everybody. I see a lot of familiar faces. Abhijit's there. I see Colt's back on. Emmett's on. So good to see everyone. I see Harveen. So let's start off. Does anybody have questions about the internship in particular? I see one question, Ayman asks, how can one get promoted to chief editor? To get promoted to chief editor, it's pretty simple. You have to show really great writing. You have to basically be putting in consistent hours, go above and beyond, and just be really kind of engaged with the internship. And that tends to be the people we promote to help us on the editing side. So if you're struggling on the writing side or following the directions, or it's taking longer, it doesn't mean you won't get promoted there. It just means that it might take longer. If you're kind of doing the minimum and just getting the internship on the resume to help yourself, that's fine. But it just means you're probably not going to get promoted to the editing side. Still letting more people in. We have a pretty good group this week. I assume it'll probably get 5 to 10 people more as we go. Any other questions about the internship specifically? Or Nabil, anything I should mention? I did want to mention, we are exploring other potential business lines at Wall Street Oasis, specifically around supporting investment banks in some of their valuation work, potentially some private equity funds with portfolio companies, just because we have such a deep talent pool, both from our mentor network and even from here, from the group that we have. We feel like there's a lot of really smart people that are in this group. And so we're starting to explore opportunities for potentially consulting type work with banks, where we're providing both junior support and even the private equity portfolio companies, stuff like that. So that's still in the idea stage. That being said, I think it's important to note, because if and when we do launch that, I feel like it's potentially a really great opportunity for some of you that are, do really well to continue with us, if that's what you want. If you're still in school and you're in internship and you want this just to help that's great. But I know some of you are looking for full-time work, and it's potentially a nice stepping stone to potentially working at an investment bank. You come work with us for a year or two in a paid capacity doing similar type work. I think it would be great for the CV, and a nice potential way to kind of build that skill set directly. So let's see. We got a question from Paul. If you haven't started the internship, is it possible to interview for the chief editor role? Send examples of very high quality essays done. Hey, Paul, no, we just require you to actually show it, like in the internship, and it won't take a long time. Typically, if you're doing a great job and putting out great output and the writing quality, Nabil does a very good job. we have a bottleneck at the editing stage, so it's not that we don't want to promote. It's just that we have a very high bar for that, to be able to edit other people's work. So that's why we'd rather have a bottleneck and slow things down than us just rushing things through and publishing content that isn't really high quality. So that's where we're at. Let's see. Oh, Chin May asked, can I repeat what I was thinking of launching? More like a consulting business or a junior support consulting business for investment banks and other finance firms that need help with like valuation work, stuff like that. We've noticed that there's a lot of investment banks, especially boutiques and middle market, that have an attrition problem, and that have they're losing a lot of their analysts to larger banks and elite boutiques, that because kids will join there and then quickly lateral or go to private equity. And there's a lot of seats open at the bulge brackets in the elite boutiques because those kids are the ones getting poached by private equity so fast. So we think there's a place where we can potentially support investment banks and other finance firms with kind of more valuation work, that type of stuff, where you're spreading comps, doing some of that stuff, that work, publicly traded PIBs, public information books, stuff that can help the senior partners and managing directors at these firms have a little bit more support. So that's what we're looking at potentially launching. No real time frame, probably closer to a September timeframe. We still have to work on specifically what we want to go to market with, and if we feel like there's a way to do it in such a way that is beneficial both to the client and to us. So we have to figure that out. It's not an easy thing to launch by any means. So let's see what else we got here. Okay, Josh asked, hi, I just wanted to know, how much time does it usually take for an article to be uploaded after the preliminary review is completed? Well, Josh, good news. We just hired, I think, 3 more paid people out of the group. People who had finished internship, we just offered 3 jobs. So that's to help us with getting reviews done faster and getting the uploads done faster. So we do have a bottleneck at both the upload stage and the editing stage. So right now it could take a month, Nabil. I don't know. Longer. I mean,
yeah, probably.
If we're being honest, like there is a bottleneck there. So we're trying to reduce it, at least make it so that people who are, we don't want you to get to the end of your internship and, not having had feedback. So we're really pushing hard to get more help there. But yeah, it could take a while, which is why we say, don't wait, like continue on with your next topic. But yeah, we're working on growing both of those teams, the editing team and the upload team, so that things actually are getting live. I think we have something like only 250 articles live, and there's probably about 800 or 900 of them in process. So it's a lot. But yeah, so that's where we're at for that. Any other questions? Let's see, how the company signed contact with ours. Michael, I'm not sure I understand your question, how the company signs the contact with ours. Thanks, Colt. Appreciate the kind words. Let me let in a few more people. We're up over 30. So, Nabil, anything else you want to mention about that?
About which one?
Yeah, the potential consulting, or outsourcing stuff.
No, I think you've had it pretty well covered. So
okay. And then specifically, yeah, no, good. It's a good question, Josh. We're working as hard as we can to try and reduce some of those bottlenecks. We're letting a lot fewer people into the internship now. It's the bar is much higher to try and kind of make sure we get our feet under us, so we don't have too many writers at once. Michael asks how the company signs a contract with us. I'm not sure I follow.
Is this about the consulting business?
Probably about the consulting business, but I'm not sure I understand. If the article makes it you want to answer that one, Nabil, Brandon's question?
Yeah, I mean, nothing from your end after that. It's just, after it's ready for upload, we have our uploaders look at it, publish it online. That's pretty much it. So once it's ready for upload, there's nothing. Yeah.
There's nothing for you to do once it's ready for upload. Yeah. That's your
it's considered complete for you. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Will the company sign the contract with ours? Oh, with you? No, I think you'd be working for us and we'd be signing the contract with the company. And if you were to work with us, it would be a full-time role and we would bring you on help with probably continue with the SEO work. But then when we have clients coming in, doing more like the valuation work and more of the financial modeling work, that type of stuff. I think that answers your question. Abhijit, you had a question?
Yeah, okay. So actually going off of valuation, I was wondering if you're doing like if you're trying to make our own portfolio and we are using like DCF modeling, it usually takes like a lot of manual work power. Like it takes like 20 hours just to model a company and takes like literally it makes out like 20% we find some arbitrage of some sort. So like can we optimize in some ways in that process? Is there any way we can do?
You're talking about discounted cash flows or a way to make it more efficient, the
Yeah.
modeling of DCFs. It depends what the use case is for. Are you trying to, you're building it for your own portfolio, you said, for trading?
Yeah.
I think there's really, Nabil, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think there's any shortcuts really. Sometimes the hardest part sometimes the hardest part is kind of just the projections. You could, if you had a license to like one of these other things, you could take like consensus projections. So you're not having to build out like a whole crazy operating build and just try to get down to cash flow.
Yeah. I was also thinking some of filtering processes. You can use some EV to EBITDA or something like that.
Oh, comps, evaluation metrics.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can use
filtering out
trading comps, EV to EBITDA, revenue to EV to revenue to EV if there's no cash flow or things. Although those have been compressed, all those high growth companies that were trading at 10x revenue are now trading like 2 to 3x revenue. So yeah, you got to be careful, right? The time period you're looking at, but even precedent transactions, same thing. If you've taken the valuation modeling course from WSO, that's great practice in terms of getting yourself up to speed on how to do those comps.
Thank you.
Even if you just look at one, but yeah, it's tough to say there's any shortcuts. I think comps tend to be easier because you can just grab them quickly, see the multiples pretty fast. Although you got to be careful because sometimes the way companies report, you need to make adjustments for like one-time items. And that's a little bit more of an art than a science in terms of like, okay, what's a one-time item? What's a recurring item? What's something they're saying is one time, but it's actually recurring. And so for like your personal portfolio that you're building, like you need to be a little bit more investigative around that to get comfortable. And it's hard. That's why a lot of people like subscribe to these like, to these people who trade and do the like manage these portfolios to that run these analyses. Have you heard of a company mostly borrowed ideas? Have you heard of that guy, MBI?
No.
He has a big Twitter following.
I actually followed through this. I used to watch this stream. He just used to make this DCF model, just putting on numbers on Excel. So I just tried to do that with myself and it just takes so many hours.
To give you a sense of how long it takes, there's this guy who runs a subscription business. I think it's only $10 a month that he charges, but he spends a whole month researching a company and trying to say whether he thinks it's a good or bad or where the valuation is an upside. And he runs a super detailed operating model, DCF, all this stuff. And even then, sometimes he's like, and I don't feel like I know it because he's like, in terms of equity research analysts and like if they're spending time on few names and covering them in super in depth, he's like talking to those people. He's actually doing channel checks. He's talking. So like, that's where it becomes really hard. And that's why a lot of people say you can't really beat the market. It's relatively efficient in terms of at any given time.
I feel the same.
That's what makes it hard.
Yeah.
Did that help at all or no?
Yeah, I kind of did. Yeah. I mean, you can reference other people's work. That's definitely helpful, I guess.
Yeah, I think you have to. I mean, if you're going to try to do like 100 DCF, there's other ways to do it. Like if you're trying to build algorithm, I remember you're like more into the algorithmic trading. There's ways to do.
That's what kind of my ideal thing is. I'm trying to just merge those two things. I think there's never a thing between those things. Either it's completely fundamental or it's completely like just computational. So I'm trying to somehow merge those things.
And I think the hard part is the pure computational technical analysis that's using all these signals is immediate or almost immediate.
It's very short term, yeah.
And the fundamental analysis, you're only getting quarterly results, right? And it's super chunky. And even when you get that quarterly result out, it probably takes several hours at least at a minimum, even if you have thing ready to update the model and then put up. But that's what happens every quarter. That's why it's crazy for these equity research analysts. Every time a new quarter comes out, they're literally just sprinting to get their models updated and try to figure out, was that good or was that a bad quarter? Right. So sometimes the headline numbers look good, but actually, they gave guidance that revenue is going to be, in middle of the range, but actually that you thought that they were going to be high into the range of their guidance, and suddenly, boom, that drops your price target by, whatever, 20%. So like I mean, I think it'd be cool doing what you said. I just think it's hard to merge it, right?
Yeah.
I think there are funds that do that though. They'll have like a more fundamental team and a more technical team. And the technical team is telling the fundamental team, like, we're getting these signals here. And if the fundamental team agrees, hey, this is a good entry price based on what I'm seeing, then it.
Yeah.
So
I feel like that's the only point, just getting the entry. That's the only way we can actually use computation in terms of fundamental.
Yeah. You mean that use the technical to figure out if it's a good like, at least if the signal match up with the.
In a sense.
Yeah. I mean, the technical can sometimes miss the news, right? If there's
I mean, it doesn't make sense to use technical completely. Just mathematical.
Well, some people argue you can use technical completely and then they'll try to sell you a trading software for $300 a month. And then you realize, wait a second, if this really worked, why would they sell this to me for $300 a month?
Yeah.
That makes no sense. But you can learn a lot from some really smart people in terms of how to analyze businesses. And I think it's a good practice either way, because you're building great skills for the long run.
Yeah.
Paul's asking, do I think it would be a very steep uphill battle to go from a sales and trading internship to a hedge fund analyst for full time? Might be tough right out of school, Paul, just because I think most hedge funds don't take kids right out of school. So like, in order to break into it as a hedge fund role right out of school, you got to be like, it's not that the internship is like holding you back or helping you that much. It's good because it shows like you probably hustled to get an internship. But I think what's more important is showing that you actually have some sort of like either detailed research edge or something to the hedge fund that like where you can bring value. I think that's going to be mostly based on like the ideas and your write-ups and your thesis and your track record and all that stuff. If you can show it. That's where like branding yourself online, if you have like a long history of like writing for a year or 2 years about different names, I think that's where it can really come in handy. Although a lot of people were doing that and thinking they're geniuses for like when the bull market was happening for like 12 years. And then like suddenly, boom, the market hits and like, okay, now, who was actually timing this right? Who had rotated enough out of growth, stuff like that, where they didn't get hit as badly. Right. So I know I didn't rotate out enough or as aggressively as I should have. So it's one sample size. So what else? Should we jump to the resume review? Maybe. All right, let's do it. All right, we have an on resume here as well. Let's see. Can you guys see the screen? Let me try to make this bigger. Zoom. Let's make it 120. There we go. Let's get rid of this. Okay. I'll shrink this so we can see better. So, okay, here's on the right, I just have our template. On the left is the resume we received to review. Right off the bat. So one thing I'll say about like, and the person here, the anonymous resume is targeting, I think, consulting or business analyst role. So it's going to be a little bit different than some of like the banking type specific advice I would give. Although, coming out of undergrad, it's still important to have similar things. So a couple of things. I'd probably, let's just track changes here. Review, track changes. I think probably this is a waste of space right here. I would do similar Bachelor of Science in Business Administration Finance major. Like you could just have it in one line. And I would, again, bring it over to this format. It's a little bit cleaner. These are super dark lines. It's nice it helps my eye, but I don't think you need to have like these bold lines all the way across because your alignment looks pretty bad here. Like if you're I would right align that if you're going to keep these bold lines. This looks like it's floating somewhere on the inside. It sounds super anal and crazy, but when you get in, if you're going to a top consulting firm or recruiting for consulting, the level of detail is crazy in terms of presentation. So like notice something else. white space. You're not using any white space to help my eye. You're jamming up the next section right up against this bullet, which makes it really hard for me to read. So like you'll notice here, there's a little bit of space here. There's a little bit of space here. It helps the eye kind of scan through the resume easier. Are you with me, Anand? I don't know if he's unmuted.
Yep, I'm with you.
Okay, cool. So like, yeah, I don't think you need to use this much space for this Bachelor of Science, and that it's great that you're, have these. Are these all majors?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So you could say triple major. And now if you're going to do consulting, I'd probably want to do management first, then marketing, and then info. Or no, actually, they're all good actually for consulting, whatever you think. A minor and then minor business analytics. This is great. But again, you might want to have this in one line or two lines since you have so much. Then the GPA you bring up. The other thing you might want to do here is list some relevant coursework to get more. So like here, we'll say financial statement analysis, advanced financial, So for like consulting, if there was a strategy course, did you do any like strategy coursework or anything?
Yep, strategic management.
Yeah, so like get that in there, relevant coursework, anything around like accounting and other stuff that you did?
Yep, basics of accounting, financial and managerial accounting. That's it, the basics.
Yeah, but I'd get that in there because managerial accounting is pretty important, especially for consulting, because like you're looking at different units and the economics of different business units and stuff.
Got it.
So I'd get that in there. So just a line for a relevant coursework. See if I can mute. I'm hearing a lot of background noise, but you guys can just make sure you're on mute. And then in terms of like, so skills, rather than having skills up so high, I'd kind of like loop it in with certifications.
Got it.
To bring this down to the bottom under, you know, just had to have work experience or say relevant work experience. So like, and then I would definitely have the WSO internship listed there.
Got it.
Along with kind of how we drafted it here. Something like this. You can even try to get this onto 2 rows. If you need the space, you can get that onto 2 rows, right? So basically, yeah, get the WSO one in there. Marketing intern, let's see, communicate with all departments. So, okay, let's talk about there's too many bullets here. There's too much like bolded stuff, but let's just say for now, let's just move this down here and we'll talk about it after. Let's go to the work experience, which is more important, and talk about your bullets specifically. So global education office, peer recruiter, and orientation leader. Was this a paid internship during school? What is this?
So it's basically I welcome the new students and I work with the office right now for the new students. So I serve as a link between professors and the international professor staff with the students.
Got it. Okay. So that's really good because it shows you're like a leader, you're helping orientation, you're good with communicating with people, but I don't think it should be 4 bullets. It sounds like it's a little bit more like, I think you want to give the space to the stuff that's a little bit more like technical, shows you have skills. This is a lot of space to give something like that. Let me read the marketing intern. And let's see. Algani Auto, summer communicated a person sure availability of marketing events, creating marketing campaigns for new vehicle models, helped sponsor contract. So like first comment on all of these bullets is like, you're not quantifying anything.
Got it.
Like you need to quantify everything. That's the first comment. Like you literally have no numbers in any of this. You don't tell me like how many, you don't tell me what the result was. You're just saying, I kind of did this with this. So like, I'll give you an example. Assistant International Student Orientation. How many students have you helped? Approximately, assistant over tell me more about that. Well, maybe the result of that is they were just more comfortable. So it's hard to quantify, but at least tell me how many students you worked with. Recruit potential students via email and the Unibuddy app. How did you do that? Tell me, that's kind of a little bit more interesting because that's a little bit like salesy and marketing. Like, what do you, how many leads did you go through? Via email, how many emails did you send? I have no idea what this Unibuddy app is, so I have no clue what what that means, or if
So it's basically a partnered app with a university where students who are interested in the university can talk to students who already are present in the university. So
Yep.
if they
okay,
want,
that makes sense. So like, I think just tell me how many phone calls you did over how many weeks.
got it.
That stuff. And do you have any of the data around the people who talked to you actually ended up coming?
I could get it when I go back, but
that would be really cool. I'd be like, spoke with 32. Let me give you an example of a bullet that looks much more interesting. Spoke with 32 potential students via email. You can forget the Unibuddy app. Like nobody's gonna know what that is. You can say via email and phone resulting in 5 students joining joining the university. Conversion rate of higher, 2x higher than the average. What do you want to call this? Peer recruiter.
Got it.
And it shows like, oh, you were good at selling. You're actually good at like communicating and showing them what the benefits of the school were.
Got it.
Okay. Synthesize proper communication between current students in correct department. And it's kind of like, feels like a soft bullshit bullet that you don't think you really adds much there. And this informed potential students of all the amenities student pleasure. That's kind of the same as the recruit potential students. I just think make that second bullet bigger and stronger, and you can remove these next 2.
Got it.
And then once you put it in the WSO, you're going to need space for that. That's going to make things look better. And then let's talk a little bit about, so it'll go WSO, Global Education Officer, a couple of bullets, communicate with all departments to ensure vehicle availability. So like, which departments? Is this like an inventory check or something like that?
So we were shooting ads for the vehicles, and we had to make sure that the car was not booked by a client, or it was not going out for a test drive.
Yeah.
Or it wasn't going out to any of the staff members if they required it. So
and that's good, but it's a little admin-ish work, right? It's not really using your brain. It's like, oh, let me check if it's available on the system.
Got it.
I mean, do you agree? Am I wrong? Am I wrong there? Is there some sort of like complexity there that I'm missing?
I mean, there was no complexity. I basically just had to go to each and every department. It was not a spreadsheet per se, but I just had to make sure that it wasn't booked. So it is more of an admin role than.
Yeah. So like, how much value is this adding? So let me keep going. Assisted in creating marketing campaigns for new vehicle models. This is more interesting. Were you doing this? What were you doing? What programs were you using in this marketing campaign?
We were just mapping out ideas as to how we could promote the product and what.
In PowerPoint? In PowerPoint?
Yeah, in PowerPoint.
Okay, great. Assisted in creating 7 marketing campaigns in PowerPoint across 7 new vehicle models, across 5 new vehicle models during my 3-month tenure.
Got it.
Okay, leading to 20% year-over-year gain on sales of these models.
Got it.
Or I don't know, compared to previous.
I mean, I'm not sure about the actual numbers as to how the.
Yeah, and that last number that I threw in there, that's like the dream scenario. If you can get those numbers, great. If not, just giving more information around how many marketing campaigns you use it in PowerPoint, that's relevant. So it shows, oh, I mean, he probably has some PowerPoint and marketing skills. That's good for consulting. Consulting is like PowerPoint heavy, right? So you want to scream PowerPoint all over this. You don't want to be necessarily screaming linear regression, logistic regression, discriminant analysis.
Got it.
Right. Although this is good because this makes me feel like, okay, he has the analytical chops to be able to handle any sort of, complex work. But I want to see really you're good at marketing, you're good at PowerPoint, you're good at presentations, and you're a good communicator.
Got it.
Okay. So helped informing partnership and sponsorship contracts with other companies. Super vague. Tell me how many, how much money.
There was just one contract, but it was a big contract. I don't remember the number, but I could get the number again because I'm still in touch with my boss.
Yeah, helped informing. I mean, what does that mean? Did you like generate the lead? Did you deal with the partner? Were you on the call? Even if it's just one, $200,000 or $50,000 partnership contract, that's good for an intern. It's amazing, right?
I was on the call. I didn't do much, but I was just observing, and I also went through the whole contract and spotted errors.
Okay. Well, I mean, even that, like maybe it's not you helping forming the partnership really then. It's more like you supporting the partnership. So you're supporting a $50,000 sponsorship contract with the it's a dealership, right?
Yeah.
With the dealership through contract review, resulting in whatever. If you could say something like quantify in terms of like, did you find a lot of savings of XYZ or something like that? But if you can't, it's okay if you just said helped, or supported contract review with the largest partner sponsorship dealership of over $50,000, something like that. It shows you have technical like attention to detail, stuff like that. So it's good. Recommended marketing strategies to boost sales. Again, it's vague. What types of marketing strategies? Email, phone, what specifically? Did it result in any changes? Did you guys actually implement any of them? That's much more interesting to me, and what they're going to ask you in the interview.
Got it.
So just give me a little more meat here, a little more details, a little more numbers, or just remove it.
Got it.
Okay. So yeah, this could be 2 or 3 bullets. This probably 2. You'll have 3 with WSO. It'll much better on the work experience once you have that. Formatting, again, these need to be right aligned or just to move it to this format. Again, easy way to move it to this format. You take this, you copy a line, copy unformatted text. You don't bring in the formats from over here to here. So you just go line by line, copy unformatted text, copy unformatted text, and then you can work in here once you're in the new template. So you don't have to if you start copying and pasting it, it'll start messing it all up, and it's a disaster.
Makes sense.
Okay. Looks like you have a spelling error right here.
Oh no, that's actually name.
Borat. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's unfortunate because it looks like you're like potentially supposed to be bored. I mean, like a board seat. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What is this conference presentation?
Yeah, so it was an article that me and my colleague did, which our professor really liked, and he took it to a presentation, and it was going to get published.
Did it get published?
It was supposed to, but he's told me it's been delayed.
Okay, so that's not clear from this bullet at all. Like that you authored an article or helped co-author an article.
It's all 3 of us are co-authors.
You what?
It's co-author.
That's
fine.
3
are co-authors.
I think you need to say co-authored a research paper on supply chain disruption during the pandemic. I think
okay.
You can say that. Like I don't know what Saskatchewan, Getty, Borat.
So the 3 are the 3 names of people who are 3 names of the co-authors. Basically.
Yeah, and that means nothing to me. I'm reading this resume. I have no idea. I don't care their names.
Makes sense.
I care. What did you do? You co-authored the supply chain disruption, an article on supply chain disruption during the pandemic. That's interesting. Now I have something to ask you about. And that's actually really interesting. And I'd probably, I hope you know the article really well because a lot of the interview might be on that. How did you do the research? What was it about? How did you even get involved with that? Right?
Got it.
Cool?
Yep.
Awesome. And then, let's see. And then for this stuff here at the bottom, so, okay. I think that's good, but I don't think it needs a whole other section, by the way. Conference presentation. I would put that under additional information and have it be almost under like certifications or under, instead of computer, let's see, like this stuff, Python, R, pivot tables, visualization, Tableau, Power BI, R, all this stuff should be under like a skills level. And you have a lot, right? So I think what you want to do is have this skills line, probably go to 2 lines. Then modeling, I think you'll want to have like completed Wall Street Oasis self-study courses, valuation, M&A modeling, LBO modeling, or have something more consulting friendly. So maybe there's a case in point or strategy books you could put here. Like Porter's 5 Forces, something where it shows you're a student of consulting and of strategy consulting.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So maybe instead of modeling and it being so finance heavy, because you already are going to seem really, really analytical and skilled on the skills portion. If you're putting all this linear regression, K-mean, and again, I don't think you need linear regression, logistic regression, discrimination. I don't think the whole point of the resume is not to like dump all these skills you have on you. The point is to get across the fact that you have a lot of skills around data manipulation and this stuff, right? The problem with all these skills is it doesn't look like you used a lot of it in any of your work experience. Am I right or wrong on that?
You're right.
How about in the article or in the research in the article? Did you use any of them there?
Barely.
Barely, not really. Okay. So my point is like, it's good you had all that, but like it's like a huge portion top of your resume right now. I think you need to move it down. Say you have these skills. It would actually be more believable to me, Anand, if you were to say, I love calling you Anand, by the way. If you would tell me like your actual skill level on these. So like Python and R, which one are you better at?
R, definitely.
Okay, so you could do R, expert, Python, intermediate, Excel, intermediate, pivot tables, expert, visualizations, expert, Tableau, beginner, Power BI, beginner, something like that.
Okay.
And maybe remove the beginner and only have the intermediate and the expert, because you don't necessarily want to be drilled. If you say you're an expert at pivot tables, they could just suddenly start asking you something about index match, and you just get confused, or pivot tables. And then in terms of machine learning, I doubt you'll get challenged on that, but are you an expert in this stuff?
With regression and discriminant, yes, but k-means clustering is still a work in progress.
I'd remove that. Unless you're applying to more unless you're applying to roles that are that would use this. So if you're applying for a business analytics role, you might want two kind of versions of the resume. One that's a little bit more
consulting based and one more analysis based.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, because I know with data analysts and business analysts, this could be really helpful, and they'll want to see that. But if strategy consulting, especially, they're going to be like,
I get your point. And
so I think it would probably be better. I mean, computer networking, web design, whatever, right? I don't think that's, unless you're an expert in some of these, you may want to throw it in down here, but it could probably go without. It's not that that interesting, unless again you're applying for more technical roles.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
got it.
Now let's talk about certifications. What's an Excel yellow belt?
It was just a certificate that we were forced to do in class to show that we're proficient in Excel, and our professor was like, "Put on your resume."
What is it? Why not a black belt?
Yeah, I had the same question.
They call it a yellow belt?
Yeah, they call it a yellow belt, sadly. There is a black belt, though.
How do you get to it?
You have to take it. You have to buy the course, I think so, and then take the black belt.
So, but the school paid for it?
I don't think they paid for the black belt. They paid for the yellow one. And we paid out of pocket. It was part of our course material. So.
Got it. Okay. You might want to just replace with instead of some.
I'll probably replace it with the WSO Excel course.
Yeah, you may want to do more of the keywords from the Excel course.
Okay.
Under the modeling. So rather than saying a yellow belt, which I have no idea, level 2, I have no idea what that means. Just tell me more specifically, in the modeling section, interest down here, tell me more specifically, what you can, pivot tables. That's where I would put this stuff, index match, data manipulation, sorting, advanced sorting. You could even do stuff around saying you understand what's called validation, and there's a couple of the more advanced stuff in all the Excel modeling course. Put that stuff in there, because then they'll be like, oh, okay. They are actually proficient in Excel. They're not just saying it here. And then maybe, like I said, maybe you don't have a computer thing here, because it's less relevant for consulting, and you can have it for your data analyst roles. You could have more of this data, this Tableau, Power BI, and R, and visualizations. It's more important.
Got it.
Okay. And then the certifications, I think this is good. Fundamentals of digital marketing, Google Analytics for beginners. I think that's good for certifications. And you could put the Excel credential and certification for the WSO if you've taken that course and finished it.
Yep.
And then what do you have for interests? Nothing.
I have not put anything for interest.
What are your interests? What do you do outside of school?
These days I'm into cryptocurrency. Looking at the market fall gives me joy, surprisingly.
Looking at the what?
Market fall gives me joy.
Okay. In terms of why?
I mean, the more the market falls, the more convinced I would be putting more money in, basically. So it's getting more value for my buck, basically.
Okay, but you're talking about crypto specifically, or the stock market?
Crypto specifically. And I used to be interested in the stock market. I still am, but I'm just more interested in crypto right now because, yeah, I don't see the stock market fall by like 20% in a day. So
yeah. So are you? So you're an investor in crypto?
Yep.
So are you up or down?
Not heavy. I'm down. Definitely, I'm down.
So I don't know if you want to highlight that on your resume.
I should be up in 2024 for sure, but not right now.
Right. Or there could be a crypto winter for 5 years instead of 3.
Yep.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not. Maybe we'll be Bitcoin. I invest in. I have crypto too. I'm not a hater. I just don't know for a consulting or for a, like, I'm thinking of the people you're going to be interviewing with. The data analyst role people actually are probably more crypto bros than the consulting. Believe it or not, because they're more technical. They appreciate blockchain probably a little bit more.
Definitely.
So
Definitely.
I think you might want to have, like, for interest, if you're going to put crypto and trading crypto as an interest here, you just want to be very careful. Because they might ask you, like, okay, what are you? Tell me about DeFi, or tell me about this. They might, if there's somebody who really knows their crypto, they could start drilling on you.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're comfortable doing that, that's great. If you're not, just be careful, like, putting that as an interest. Anything else you like doing?
I mean, I've been working out, but I don't think I could put that in.
Any sports?
I used to play cricket. I play table tennis.
Okay, are you good at table tennis? Do you watch any sports? Any sports teams?
Cricket, definitely cricket.
Okay, you could put cricket here. And then, are you a fan of any specific team?
India, definitely.
Okay, but there's no like club teams there that play.
So in cricket's basically there are leagues that happen with countries, like within countries, and I only watch.
Okay, I'm just trying to think, like, can you get more specific on any of your interests? So I think putting cricket would be good. I think putting crypto would be good. Maybe not for the consulting ones, but for the data analyst.
Could I put something like poker or something in?
Can you put what?
Poker?
Poker, yeah. I think poker would be great. But I'd be even more specific than this. Is poker, it's Texas no limit, or other types of poker limit?
Yeah, I don't play with actual cash. We just play for fun.
That's okay. But Texas Texas Hold'em, or which one?
Texas Hold'em, yeah.
Yeah, so I'd write that. Yeah, that's good. And then what about travel?
Definitely.
Okay, travel. How many countries have you traveled to?
Off the top of my head, I'm pretty sure I've traveled to around 10.
Okay, so it's borderline, but you could say travel, and it's something you really enjoy doing, and You could say travel. Since you're from. I won't say to give it away where you're from, but clearly you've traveled a far distance. Okay, so any questions around this, or does anybody else have questions around some of the advice? Oh, and then we're not done, actually, because this leadership and community work.
Mm-hmm.
This is, again, the same bullet problems that we had above with no quantification at all. They're going to be
okay.
Especially this Club International Treasurer, analyze the yearly budget and forecasted future expenses. I mean, this is going to put me to sleep.
Yeah, I could easily quantify that. Definitely.
Easily quantify that. And what did you did you help do anything? Funds for specific events that would bring in revenue. How much revenue did you bring in? How many events? Which events? Negotiate with the finance department to approve funds. You mean for your club?
Yep. So we had an event and we wanted some funds, and the finance board was pretty reluctant on it, and we came to an understanding as to why we need the funds. And
so I think that's good for your interview. I don't think it needs a bullet on the resume. I think that's a really good story to have for your interview, to show how you work through something where there's a disagreement.
Got it.
But yeah, I don't think it's kind of funny that like you're an internal like part of the club and you're like, you're negotiating with your own finance department to get approved for a club. Like it's theoretically you're all on the same team, right? In
a way, yeah, but they think that we're going to waste the money, so they don't want to give the fund to students.
So I think better to, rather than show that like negotiation, show me that you actually generated funds for the club.
Got it.
And how much and how much that was over the expected or whatever. What percentage did you overachieve quota or whatever, or what your estimate was. Presented the finance board with detailed expense reports for events. Okay, yeah, again, kind of a blah, whatever. Let's see, motivate students to voice out their concerns. Yeah, these could be like 2 bullets. Designing a rough website for the club. What does that mean, a rough website? Designing? So did you put up the website or not?
It's in the process.
Okay, so maybe remove that until it's up.
Got it.
Because they may ask, what's the domain? Pull up their smartphone to look at it.
Yeah, makes sense.
And that looks bad. And then we talked about like instead of certifications, having just an additional information or section with kind of more bringing a lot of this stuff down, right? And being a little bit more in that format. So I think, yeah, this could be definitely, you can save a lot of space here, save a lot of space bringing this down. This is work experience is going to be almost double. You're going to remove some of these bullets, but with the WSO, it's going to almost double in size.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to save some space here by bringing this up. It's going to be more like 2 bullets with a little bit more length here. You can also save some space if you bring it over in the header. This is a ton of space you're wasting right up here.
Got it.
Okay, if you bring it over to this format, that's gonna make it fit as well. And I'm happy to take a look once you're done with all these edits.
Perfect.
Any questions about not just from you? Anyone else have questions around this or thoughts that I missed?
There's some in the chat, yeah.
Okay, can you read some? Because I don't have it pulled up. And this is for consulting, so it's a little bit different than like an investment banking thing. We don't want to be screaming finance all over it. I would say that Anon has a little bit too much in the like, this is more like a data analyst resume. This would do much better on a data analyst application than it would on a consulting.
Yep.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no problem.
By the way, your GPA is kind of hidden. It's excellent. Like it should definitely be right up there, the first bullet right under here. Sorry, go ahead, Nabil.
Oh, no problem. Do you think it's good to add test scores for management consulting roles? I don't have SAT ACT, just have TOEFL international baccalaureate exam scores.
A great question. So what were the percentiles? If it's 90th percentile or above, I don't think it hurts. If it's like 95th percentile or above, definitely include it. If it's like 80th percentile, I wouldn't.
Got it. And then the next question is also for remote jobs. What should you put for the location portion?
Let me actually caveat that. Let's say you have going back to the scores, let's say you have a really bad GPA. Like this isn't the case here, but let's say you had a 2.9 GPA so you have to leave it off. And you have an 85th percentile TOEFL and some other, or GMAT, and you scored a 680 or 700 on the GMAT. In that case, I might actually put those on because you're trying to show them like something quantifiable that like, okay, you have the intellectual rigor to actually complete the job. Whereas the GPA is going to make them doubt you, right? So that's the only caveat I'll say. If you're really weak on the GPA side, including those scores slightly below 90 percentile might actually help you a little bit. But I'd say below 80th, definitely not. Unless you're applying to like much less competitive positions. But go ahead, Bill.
Oh yeah. The other question was for remote jobs. What should you put for the location part?
Great question. You could put remote. I think it looks better to have a location, and so you can just put the headquarters of the company. So, for example, here we have Saratoga, California. It's where the business is located. So you could do that. I would just use the location, or if you're like, I would say even if like you're right outside of like New York, if you're like in Queens or something, just put New York. Don't put like Queens, New York. Just put New York. It's a borough of New York. So if you're in the metropolitan like region of a specific city, Don't put like the borough, put the actual city there because it's just much more relatable. And plus you probably will have visited the city while you're there, or theoretically, if you're remote, maybe not, but at least it's more relatable. Any other questions?
If the article state is ready for upload, could I use it on my resume as a reference or not?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. And do you think it's good to add LinkedIn URL in the header?
Great
below the
question.
name, I guess. Yeah.
Yes, I do. And that's not in our template, but I think you could definitely add that. You could put it, here, let me share my screen again. I can show you how to potentially do that cleanly. Here you could do like a vertical line and go LinkedIn and just link this right here to your LinkedIn. That way you're not taking a lot of space, it's clean. When you PDF this, again, you shouldn't be sending out your resume as a Word document, because when people open it up with different versions of Word, they completely mess up the way it looks. You should PDF it so it's much more stable. And the PDFs can hold the links. I don't like the way this looks with the blue email, so I usually like to change it back to black. It's still clickable, so they can click on it if they want in the PDF. Same thing with your LinkedIn link. I wouldn't have the only place where there's blue on your resume is right here. It's just another little formatting nit that shows attention to detail. Any other questions, Nabil? Or did we?
Yeah, this one more. I think.
There's 20 more. No, just kidding.
Yeah. So, which certifications impress investment banks?
Which certifications impress investment banks?
Modeling ones.
I don't think the CFA hurts. I just don't think it's that helpful in terms of investment banking. If you're talking front office, I think more important is just
WSO ones. Yeah.
Yeah, I think just showing
modeling
on your resume, showing that you've taken the time for self-study, I think is probably more important. And having relevant internships is a lot more important than any sort of certification you can get. But having gone through that and actually quantifying how many hours you've put into it, you just got to be careful. You don't want 200 hours of financial self-study financial modeling training. You better be ready to talk about depreciation flowing through the cash flow, through the income statement, balance sheet, and cash flow statement. You better be ready to do all those questions. If you say you're you're taking the valuation modeling course, you better know the ways of valuing a company, trading comps. You better know that the common multiples, what it means, all that stuff, and not just write it down. Because it may help you get the interview, but then you're just going to get blown out. And go home crying. No, just kidding. I don't think you'll cry, but Anand, you have a question about your resume.
Yeah. Do you think I should change the format if I'm applying for business analyst roles as well to the format on the right?
I think so, but I would put more. Your skill section will definitely be much broader, and you could even increase this by 2 or 3 lines. So it's something where you could have you could combine data manipulation and visualization into one, for example, and put these. You could do machine learning into one, right?
Got it.
But I would definitely put it down here because you haven't really done it in your work experience. It's still self-study skills. I rather have more information around how many hours you spent in each of these programs, or giving the reader an indication of expert level versus intermediate. And you can do that all here.
Got it.
And I'm not saying you have to limit this. This could be 7 high. I wouldn't go much more than 7, because then it starts looking kind of odd if you're all the way up to here. If you're all the way up to here, it's going to start looking odd. But yeah, as an undergrad, they're not going to expect you to have a bunch of necessarily data analyst internships. It would have been better, right? If instead of doing marketing and even WSO, if you had worked with us for data manipulation and Tableau, working on our Tableau, it'd probably be better for your applications to data analysts, right?
Yep.
But still, this is good. I mean, it shows that you're actually putting in a lot of work, and you're more familiar with these. And I don't know, what have you chosen for articles? If it's articles around data analytics and stuff?
I've gone more towards trading.
Why?
And strategy of consulting.
Strategy for consulting. Okay. Yeah.
And trading because I actually liked learning about the different indicators.
Okay. Okay. So, but yeah, I mean, sort of the data analyst stuff. Yeah, I think I would still move it down because I still think this is a little messy.
Makes sense.
And I think it'll look much cleaner here and it'll still look good. You just need to give me more details on each of these and maybe cut out some of the computer networking, the less impressive ones, or the ones that you're a little weaker in.
Got it. Do you think I could showcase the skills by projects?
I would normally say yes, that would be great. You mean projects you've done in school or self?
I've learned the skills in school, but the projects I'm doing on my own.
You typically don't do. It's a good question because I think you're talking about specifically for a data analyst resume, right?
Yeah.
You could, if you want to make it more, if you want to leave this smaller and instead of leadership, you cut out a lot of this BS and you expand more on specifically these, like project. You could say instead of leadership and community work, you could just do, you could just literally, I mean, because the community work, you already got a lot of that in this peer recruiter stuff, right? You could put it in more around in here as one line, right? But for data, you could say data analytic projects here as a whole section, and you could have two projects and talk about like data manipulation, visualization. You could talk more specifically about that. I think that would be very strong and powerful for data analyst roles. Yes.
Got it. Perfect.
Yeah, I think that'd be nice. And that would feature it a little bit more, right? Because I think you're going to get a lot more bang for your buck from that rather than this leadership and community work.
Got it.
I still think you want this. You just want to make it
shorter.
Yeah, shorter, and still quantify it. You still want it in there, but just give me some numbers, man.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're screaming for numbers all around this resume. Tom, go ahead.
Oh, hi, Patrick. Can you hear me?
Yeah, hear you great.
Okay. So I was wondering, can we get like a copy of the template on the right side, like the example?
Yeah, Nabil, can you send it in the chat, the link to that?
I just did some.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah. I just did, yeah.
Oh, okay. And then second question is, would interest like be a huge thing? Like, would people really, or recruiters would look at your interests and stuff? Because I had it, but I took it out because somebody told me like nobody cares what you do, man. They just want to see what you've done and what you've accomplished. So
that's a horrible advice.
Oh, really? I want to hear your advice on that.
Yeah, it's horrible advice. Not because it's going to necessarily stop you from getting interviews, but when you have the interviews and the person pulls your resume out and they guess what? They haven't reviewed it. Guess what they're going to look for to break the ice?
Oh, yeah, you're right.
The first thing they're looking at. They're like, oh, so you like to run? Or, oh, you're a poker player. Oh, me too. What do you play? Oh, have you ever da-da-da? Boom. Suddenly there's a mutual connection. There's something, oh, you like to travel. I mean, maybe there's nothing that they know about. Maybe you're like, oh, you're an Olympic, curler or like whatever. I don't know. Like you did that. Wow, that's cool. Tell me more about that. And then suddenly half the interview could be about an interest that makes you like more interesting or dynamic as a person. So it may not help you like land interviews as much. It's less important. That stage is really important in the interview stage, I feel like. And it could help you land interviews if there's shared interest from the person that's looking through it.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah, no worries. That's why I said it's bad advice. Yeah, go ahead, Anand.
I have a question. I've heard some advice about BSing numbers on my resume.
Yes, great question. Bullshitting numbers on resumes. Tell me about it. Go. What's your question?
Is it a good thing? Because there is no way to confirm it. And I always thought, what's the point of BSing something? Why don't you stand on your own 2 feet? But then if it could give you a competitive edge because there's no way to confirm it, what do you think about it?
I think if you're bullshitting numbers that don't really matter so much, it's not the number, it's not the amount so much as the fact that you're showing the person reading your resume that you understand how to sell. Mm-hmm. How to sell yourself. That's all the resume is. It's selling yourself. So I always say, actually err on the side of conservative numbers, but give me numbers as much as you can. So it's not about overinflating what you did, because then you can get called out and be like, really? You increased the revenue of that business as an intern by 30%? Really? Then you're going to get called out and you're going to look like it's going to go really poorly. Right?
Exactly. But if you inflate it by like 5%, what do you think?
But if you say something like, helped save 3% on the largest account, saving the company $3,000, something like that, it's totally believable. And it's great. It shows that like you had a small win and helped the business somehow. Right?
Mhm.
And you're able to quantify it. So it's not trying to be like you came in and ran the business and you're like this crazy guru. It's more about just showing that you had an impact. Right.
Makes sense.
And even if you feel like it's the most admin boring work, you can at least quantify how you were able to shovel that much shit through your internship. Because guess what? A lot of this job is at the entry level is shoveling a lot of that. And all the tedious BS work is going to flow down to you. You got to be able to be willing to do it and do it with a smile on your face. So if you can say cold called 320 plus people per week, guess what? A lot of them will be like, that's actually really good. For like people like, wow, he actually did that. Like, and they may challenge you on it, be like, you really called that many people per week? Be like, yeah, they actually wanted me to do 450, but I couldn't get through all of them just because occasionally one would go an hour, but then I'd get hung up on like for the next 80 of them. And then, if you can talk to it. So like a good interviewer will be able to kind of tell if you're BSing, because then they'll start asking like, what was your best call? What was your worst, what was this? Tell me like, what was the percentage of people that would actually not hang up on you? Well, give me rough numbers. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, but if you actually did it, you should be able to answer some of those questions. You know what I mean? At least
Yeah, makes sense.
ballpark.
I mean, now when you put that perspective, it makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
It's like they've done studies actually showing that numbers on your resume, like quantifications, it just makes it so much more tangible. And it's not about like lying. It's about just giving the person something to hold on to. Like our brains need something to hold on to in terms of quantification. It just makes it more understandable of like, it gives me a framework in my mind of like, oh, he worked on 3 presentations. Okay. He helped, I think you said here, like, to ensure, for new vehicle models, how many models? 20 models, 2 models? I have no idea. 5. Yeah. Cool. And maybe I'm a car person. I want to know, what models? Let's talk about cars.
I mean, I could actually. Yeah, that makes Jesus. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
You see what I'm saying? Like, give me something to hang on to. Don't give me these vague BS bullets. Like, I know you feel like you didn't do much there, but you actually probably did a lot more than you think if you can quantify the stuff. I mean, look at how we wrote the bullets for Wall Street Business Finance Research Analyst Intern. Realistically, you're doing research and writing about a topic. But like the way we wrote it, it's like I wrote 50,000 words across 20 articles in these specific topics. Suddenly you're like, whoa, the person's like, whoa, okay. Oh, I did over 200 hours of self-study. The person would be like, wow, they did a lot, right?
Uh-huh.
And it is a lot. This internship is a lot, but it's something where like you're giving them something like that you can't fake. Like they're able to hold on to it. They're able to give you full credit. They're able to give you so much more credit than a assisted in creating marketing plans for new vehicle models.
Yeah, that's just too vague and doesn't give something. Yeah, I get you.
It doesn't give me something to hold on to. So give me something to hold on to. Give me a little bit more. Like use the space on your resume. Like it's just a quantification thing. And this is very common, by the way. Not to like rag on you. Very common omission. Really, it's not a mistake necessarily. Like this isn't a resume. People would be like, oh my gosh, this is so bad. It's just there's definitely room for improvement on it.
Got it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, and your GPA is way up there. You're coming from a non-target, so it's not like people are going to be coming knocking down your door. You're going to have to, march down some doors. And then, once this is cleaned up, ramp your networking like a maniac.
Yep, that's the plan. Honestly, my last semester, I really could not care about my GPA anymore. It's all networking.
Exactly. Like, yeah, your schoolwork.
Yep.
And I would have said last year to do that, but here you are.
Yeah, I was a bit too late.
It's okay. It's okay. Live and learn. You're still super young, by the way. So you have your whole career ahead of you. Don't feel like people sometimes are like,
honestly, that's motivating.
It's honestly, like
that's motivating.
I didn't get the job out of school. It's like, dude, you have like a 30-year career ahead of you. Like, what do you think if you have to do like 1 year at the non-ideal job, like your life's over? Like, by the way, even if you get into the most prestigious like job in all of finance, you're like half your time's in Excel, like spreading comps and pivs and like aligning logos and PowerPoint. It's not it's not crazy amazing work. Yes, you're going to get paid really well and you have great exit ops and all that great stuff, but you can get there if you really want it. You just have to continue to grind and even put in the time. And for a lot of people here who are not in the US, or they're not in a big city, or they're not in London, or they're not in Hong Kong, it's really about getting yourself to those regions and getting yourself work authorization such that you can actually be even in the conversation for these jobs, right? So it's like, get yourself anywhere, any job, any way possible to those cities. And then you have a much better shot, because suddenly you can start meeting with people. Suddenly your resume is polished and you have all this, you're showing all this quantification. Suddenly you speak really well because you've talked to 200 people already. And all of a sudden, boom, doors, open. And you start hearing about interviews that nobody else hears about, because you're actually following up with the people that you spoke with and keeping them up to date on what you're working on. Do you know how few people do that? Do you know how few people actually do that? Like it's crazy. We preach it over and over again, but because it's hard. Do you know how few people actually complete this like internship successfully through and through? It's not a lot. And like, we have like paid opportunities right here. Like we have like there's, it's there, but people just don't do it because it's hard. It's like, you got to actually have discipline to sit down and like do it. Right. And then like, we're giving you free stuff. We're not giving you cash, but we're giving you free like training and all that stuff. You actually got to go in and like do the training too. Right. And then you're dealing with school on top of it. It's a lot, dude. Like, I get it, but I can promise you it's easier than banking. I can promise you have a lot more free time than you think. A lot more free time, as much as I like Netflix too. Or whatever, your social media of choice. It's long. It's at 1:10. Any other questions for now? Marco's laughing at me. Or with me, hopefully. He's nodding because he knows he's been in the market. He's doing the same thing. He's hustling. He's grinding. Right, Marco?
Yes. I mean, amazing words. You know, that's true, guys. We may think that we don't have time, but then when you're working, you know, we have a team and stuff, and the budget and headline and deadlines, so it's much more complex.
It's a hard transition from college to real world, man. Oh man, you go from like so much free. Your classes, like sometimes you can arrange it so your classes are like Tuesday and Thursday, and maybe you have like one evening class. You get 3 days with, what are you doing? Like 3 days off a week plus the weekends. You're like, there's parties, there's all this stuff. Like, I don't know. And then suddenly they throw you, like, if you get into one of these jobs where you're expected to work 80 plus hours a week, it's actually like existential. It's like existential crisis immediately at age 22. People are like, what's the meaning? What am I doing here? Like, is this really what I should be doing? And you see the burnout really fast happen. It's why the attrition is so high. It's because it is really tough. Although I got to say, people who are hungrier, who come from less, tend to be able to put up with a lot more shit for longer and get the promotion to associate or be able to kind of stick out the full 2 years. So for whatever that's worth, I don't know if that's helpful, but anything else? There's a couple. Nabil, did I get everything in the chat?
Yeah, I think so, but Kevin's has his hands up.
Oh, sorry, Kevin. Yeah, go ahead.
Hi, hey Patrick, hey Nabil. Can you hear me all right?
Hear you great.
Awesome. Thank you for the advice so far. I had 2 questions in mind regarding networking.
Yeah, shoot.
Yeah, the first one would just be just getting that referral. So right now I've been trying to reach out to people in the region. So I'm in SoCal. I was just wondering, the first time you talk to someone and you end the conversations on good note, let's say, would that be too early to ask for referral? I know I've been kind of doing that so far. I've been getting good responses, but I just don't want to be like pushy about it. You know, first time meeting someone and asking for another connection. So yeah, I was hoping.
I think it's all in the tone, Kevin. I think you seem like a polite guy. Like as long as you're saying something like, you know, I really appreciate all your advice. If you think there's anyone else that, might be helpful to speak with, or, you had mentioned, some people in XYZ. I don't know if you know anyone that you might be willing to chat with me for 10 to 15 minutes. That would be, amazing, but, no pressure, obviously. And I just want to thank you so much for spending the time with your advice. I'll definitely follow up with you once I, make progress on that. I think if you do it that way, I think that's totally fine. Awesome. And, they may not actually help you, but probably, 30% or 50% might actually introduce you. And that helps. That just saves you so much time. It saves you 100 messages on LinkedIn to get that one call. Yeah. You get another call from it, right? And that's good. I think, and then don't forget to follow up too.
Yeah, totally.
6 weeks later, 3 months later, even a year later. Be like, hey, remember our chat about this? Here, just give a refresher. Here's where I'm at right now. Really appreciate it. I took your advice on da-da-da-da. Then they feel like they're part of your success story. People want to help people who they've already helped, right? They're like, oh, Kevin, actually, you should talk to this person. And you're like, okay. Oh, they have an opening here. Da-da-da. And then you're in better shape. Where in SoCal are you?
I'm a rising sophomore at USC. So I'll be entering.
Oh, awesome.
I'm studying business there.
They have a good program.
That actually kind of follows up to my second question regarding location. So being in SoCal, I got alums that work mostly in the LA offices compared to let's say New York or Dallas, other places. So I guess let's say if I'm networking with people, let's say in Morgan Stanley in the LA office, and then due to my, I guess, different interests in industry groups, I actually want to be applying to another office, let's say New York or Houston for energy. Would those connections still come in handy while I apply, since they're in, I guess, a different location?
If you don't end up talking to anybody in those other offices, probably not as helpful.
Okay.
But to be frank, if you get the job in LA, I think you take the job in LA, right? Mm-hmm. Even if you want Houston or New York. Do you want Houston or New York? Is that why you're saying that?
Not necessarily. I was just kind of thinking about this.
No, I mean, I think a lot of people overanalyze, they overanalyze and they overestimate the odds of them breaking in, even in a front office role.
Right. Totally.
Oftentimes we'll get threads on the forums being what should I take? This private equity analyst role or this, everyone's just get the offers first. You know what I mean? Yeah. And then make the decision. And so I think your question is genuine in the sense of you're just trying to figure out are all these connections I'm making in LA, is it actually going to benefit me if I'm applying to New York?
Yeah.
And my whole thing is I think oftentimes it's a general pool you're applying into. And even if you end up doing the interview in LA, I think usually final rounds are in the headquarters. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know. It depends probably by bank.
I do understand. So some firms I've been talking to, they do have generalist programs. So
yeah,
like you said, they will consider you for a role after you're accepted. And that's kind of where you choose your location.
Yeah.
But for other firms, you're kind of right off the bat, your online application, you have to put in your location preferences.
Yeah. So for the ones that are generalist pools where they're you're choosing the location after you get the offer, those connections in LA actually are super valuable because it's still going to help you get those interviews, those first rounds, right? For the ones where you're putting it in initially, the LA connections there, if you're saying New York number one, it might be a little harder. You probably need to talk to somebody. And you may want to talk to people at not just USC alum. You may want to talk to Irvine alum. You may want to talk to USD or University of San Diego.
Yep.
Anybody near you, SoCal, any school of SoCal? I know there's not as many, but is it Pomona near you or something? Or,
yes.
Or Claremont McKenna?
They're near.
Any sort of, in all you do, instead of doing the USC connection, you talk about the SoCal connection, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're just hey, I'm also, went to school in Southern California, trying to figure out how you made it to New York. And then that's how you get in touch with a few more New York people.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Yeah. I'll definitely keep that in mind. I mean, so far I've had the most success, obviously, by emailing alums from Well, but yeah, I'll definitely try to branch out in the future. But yeah, thank you for that.
Cool. Yeah. Good luck with everything. See, you're on the right
Thank you.
track. You're on the right track. So just keep it up.
Thank you.
Let's see. Ilham asks, curious, since we are discussing about resumes, would there be discussions for cover letters? We have a cover letter template. Nabil, is that online, the cover letter template?
Yeah, it should be. I'll just share it. Yeah.
We'll share it in the chat as well. Yeah, cover letter is one of those things where you're not gonna get the interview out of it, but it could hurt you. So you want to keep it really plain vanilla, pretty clean, don't definitely keep it to under one page or under. Don't go trying to write about your life story. Talk about like who you are, where you're at, how you appreciate the opportunity to work at their firm and you're really excited about it. And then a short closing and you're done. And again, it's not going to help you land an interview. All it could do is just get you kicked out of the process if you go overboard. I have so much passion to work with investment banking ever since I was 8 years old reading the Wall Street Journal. Yeah, don't do that.
Hi, Patrick. So when making the cover letter, should we, include all of our points in the resume or no? No,
definitely not. Much shorter. Yeah, much shorter. One page. It's just a couple highlights of why you think you'd add value to the team. All that good stuff.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Yeah. And you should look at the template. That's a great guide in terms of how to do it. Harveen says, will you be doing a resume review next week too? Sure, we can do another one if you guys like it. If you think it's helpful. Maybe by the end of this, we'll have done like half of the crew.
Should we even have cover letters in the first place? Sorry.
If they don't require it, no. But a lot of places require it, so you're kind of forced to throw one together. I think it can be a nice touch for smaller companies, where it's like somebody actually might read it, and it's like maybe somebody or you spoke with somebody in the company, be like, after speaking with XYZ, because it shows like some sort of relation there. But that's almost like you're applying less through a portal, you're applying through like a person, like directly messaging HR or admin or somebody who like the connection through there. That might make it look a little more formal, make it look like you're serious. And if you have a template that you can go off of and then like modify it slightly based on the company, that can save you a lot of time. Anything else? Nabil, what am I forgetting? Thanks, Ilham.
Nothing, I guess. I think that's it.
Okay, everybody. That's a lot of talking by me. Hopefully it doesn't get annoying. Yeah, I think that's it. Usually I'm in sweatpants and a sweatshirt, but we have a lot of sales calls lately. So I'm in this looking all professional today, throw you guys off. So yeah, if there's anything else, and then Anand, thanks for sharing your resume. You can always just shoot it over to us after. I'll be happy to take a quick look and give a thumbs up.
Perfect, thank you.
Actually, it might be cool to actually see it next week or in a couple weeks, kind of relive it and see if people think it's better and we can show side by side. That'd be pretty cool. But yeah, or if you want your resume reviewed in this format, send the Word version of your resume to Nabil at wallstreetoasis.com and we'll select one for next Friday. Okay. Thanks so much, everybody. Appreciate your time. Appreciate all your efforts with the internship. You guys are kicking butt, and we're really appreciative. We're super excited. Once we get this upload bottleneck solved, we're really excited because like we can see every time we publish more articles, like we can see the rankings of these in the traffic of the site steadily climb. So we're really excited just to get it live, and we got a lot more people come to the rescue to help us. So thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
And thanks to you, my listeners at Wall Street Oasis. If you have any suggestions whatsoever, please don't hesitate to send them my way, Patrick at wallstreetoasis.com. Until next time.